The doorbell chimed, shattering the peaceful Sunday afternoon I'd been savoring. I knew who it was before I even reached the door. Taking a deep breath, I plastered on my best smile and swung it open. "Olivia, darling!" Madeline's shrill voice pierced the air as she swept past me into the foyer. "Where's my handsome son?" "Hello, Madeline," I managed, closing the door behind her. "Ethan's in his office. He's got a big presentation tomorrow." She tsked, shaking her head. "Always working, that boy. You'd think he'd take a break on the Lord's Day." Her eyes narrowed as she looked me up and down. "And what about you, dear? Any news?" I felt my stomach clench. "News? Oh, you know." She waved her hand dismissively. "A little bundle of joy on the way, perhaps?" I forced a laugh. "Madeline, we've only been married 3 months. We're not quite ready for that yet." Her lips thinned. "Not ready? Olivia, dear, you're not getting any younger. Tick-tock!" Before I could respond, Ethan appeared in the doorway, looking harried. "Mom, what are you doing here? Can't a mother visit her only son?" Madeline cooed, moving to embrace him. I caught Ethan's eye over her shoulder, silently pleading for backup. He gave a slight shake of his head, and my heart sank. "Of course, Mom," he said, leading her into the living room. "How about some tea?" I trailed behind them, my earlier contentment evaporating. As I busied myself in the kitchen, their voices drifted in. "Ethan, darling, I'm worried," Madeline was saying. "You're not getting any younger, you know. Don't you want children?" "Mom, please," Ethan sighed. "Olivia and I will have kids when we're ready." "But when will that be?" she pressed. "You can't wait forever. What if there are problems?" I nearly dropped the teacup I was holding. Gritting my teeth, I carried the tray into the living room. "Here we are," I said brightly, setting it down. "Madeline, how's the garden club?" She waved away my attempt at distraction. "Never mind that. We were just discussing your future plans. Ethan tells me you're not ready for children yet." I looked at Ethan, but he was suddenly very interested in his tea. "We're focusing on our careers right now," I said carefully. "There's plenty of time for kids later." Madeline's eyes narrowed. "Is there? Olivia, you're what, 30? 31, I corrected, my smile feeling more like a grimace. "Well, then you should know better than anyone that time is of the essence. You don't want to miss your chance, do you?" I felt a flash of anger. "Madeline, with all due respect, this is between Ethan and me." She turned to Ethan, her voice syrupy sweet. "Darling, don't you want to give me grandchildren? I'm not getting any younger, you know." Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "Mom, I told you we're not ready yet." "But why?" she pressed. "Is it because of her career? Surely she can put that on hold for a while." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Excuse me?" Madeline turned back to me, her smile not reaching her eyes. "Dear, I'm sure your little writing hobby is fun, but nothing compares to the joy of motherhood. You wouldn't want to deprive Ethan of that, would you?" I looked at Ethan, silently begging him to say something, anything. But he just sat there, staring into his teacup. "I think," I said slowly, my voice shaking, "that it's time for you to leave, Madeline." Her eyebrows shot up. "I beg your pardon?" "Mom," Ethan finally spoke up, "maybe we should continue this another time." Madeline stood, gathering her purse. "I see. Well, I suppose I know when I'm not wanted, but mark my words, you two are making a mistake. Don't come crying to me when it's too late." As the door slammed behind her, I turned to Ethan, fury building inside me. "How could you just sit there and let her talk to me like that?" He ran a hand through his hair, looking exhausted. "Liv, you know how she gets. It's easier to just let her say her piece and move on." "Easier for who?" I demanded, because it sure as hell isn't easier for me. Ethan's phone buzzed, and he glanced at it, frowning. "Look, I've got to take this. We'll talk later, okay?" As he hurried back to his office, I sank onto the couch, the weight of Madeline's words pressing down on me. Was I being selfish? Was I depriving Ethan of something he wanted? The doubts crept in, poisoning what had been a perfect Sunday afternoon. And as I sat there alone, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much bigger storm. I stared at my laptop screen, the cursor blinking mockingly at me. The words wouldn't come. How could they, when all I could think about was Madeline's visit and Ethan's silence? The study door creaked open, and Ethan poked his head in. "Hey, Liv, you coming to bed?" I glanced at the clock. Midnight already. "In a bit. I need to finish this article." He hesitated, then stepped into the room. "Listen, about yesterday." I turned to face him, my heart racing. Finally, we were going to talk about it. "I'm sorry Mom ambushed us like that," he said, running a hand through his hair. "You know how she gets." I waited for more, but he just stood there, looking uncomfortable. "That's it?" I asked, disbelief coloring my voice. "You're sorry she ambushed us?" He frowned. "What do you want me to say, Olivia? She's my mother." "I want you to stand up for me," I snapped, the frustration of the past day boiling over. "I want you to tell her to back off about the grandchildren thing. I want you to be on my side." Ethan's face hardened. "I am on your side, but you're not being fair. Mom's just excited about the idea of grandkids. Is that so wrong?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Excited? Ethan, she practically called my career a hobby and told me to put it on hold. And you just sat there. He threw up his hands. What was I supposed to do, start a fight? "You were supposed to support me." I stood up, my hands shaking. "You were supposed to tell her that our family planning is none of her business." Ethan's phone buzzed, and he glanced at it. I saw a flicker of something cross his face before he shoved it back in his pocket. "Look," he said, his voice tight, "I've got a lot on my plate right now with work. I don't need this stress at home, too. Can't you just, I don't know, play nice with Mom for a while?" I felt like I'd been slapped. "Play nice? Are you kidding me?" He sighed heavily. "Olivia, please. You know how important family is to me. Mom's just trying to be involved." "And what about me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Aren't I your family now?" Ethan's face softened slightly. "Of course you are," but his phone buzzed again, more insistently this time. He pulled it out, frowning at the screen. "I've got to take this," he muttered, already turning away. "Ethan, wait." But he was gone, the study door closing behind him. I sank back into my chair, feeling hollow. Minutes ticked by as I sat there, listening to the muffled sound of Ethan's voice from the other room. Who was he talking to at this hour? "Work," he'd said, but something didn't feel right. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I crept to the door, opening it just a crack. "Can't keep doing this," Ethan was saying, his voice low and urgent. "It's too risky. Olivia's already suspicious." My blood ran cold. What was he talking about? "No, I understand," he continued after a pause. "Just give me some time to figure things out, okay? I'll handle it." Handle what? My mind raced with possibilities, each worse than the last. I heard him approaching and quickly retreated to my desk, pretending to be engrossed in my work when he re-entered the study. "Everything okay?" I asked, proud of how steady my voice sounded. Ethan nodded, not quite meeting my eyes. "Yeah, just work stuff. Listen, about earlier, can we just forget it? Start fresh tomorrow?" I wanted to scream, to demand answers about the phone call I'd overheard, but the look on his face stopped me. There was something there, guilt, fear, that I'd never seen before. "Sure," I heard myself say. "Fresh start." He smiled, relief evident in his expression. "Great. I'm heading to bed. Don't stay up too late, okay?" As he left, I felt a chill settle over me. The Ethan I thought I knew, the man I'd married just 3 months ago, suddenly felt like a stranger, and I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever he was hiding, it was going to change everything. I turned back to my laptop, but the blinking cursor now seemed to be taunting me with all the questions I was too afraid to ask. I couldn't take it anymore. The tension in our house was suffocating, and Ethan's evasive behavior was driving me crazy. It was time to confront Madeline directly and set the record straight. I pulled into her driveway, my hands shaking as I cut the engine. Taking a deep breath, I marched up to the front door and rang the bell. Madeline answered, her eyebrows shooting up in surprise. "Olivia, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk," I said, pushing past her into the foyer. She closed the door, her lips pursed. "I suppose this is about our little chat the other day?" "Little chat?" I spun to face her. "You insulted my career and pressured us about having children. That's not a little chat, Madeline." She waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, don't be so sensitive, dear. I'm just looking out for my son's best interests." "And what about my interests?" I demanded. "Did you ever consider that maybe I'm not ready for children? That my career is important to me?" Madeline's eyes narrowed. "Your career? Writing little articles online is hardly a career, Olivia. Ethan needs a wife who can support him properly, not play at being a writer." I felt like I'd been slapped. "I am supporting him. Just because I don't want children right this second doesn't mean..." "Doesn't mean what?" she interrupted. "That you're holding my son back? Because that's exactly what you're doing. Before I could respond, the front door opened. Ethan walked in, his eyes widening as he took in the scene. Mom? Olivia? What's going on? Madeline turned to him, her voice suddenly syrupy sweet. Oh, Ethan, darling, I'm so glad you're here. Olivia was just explaining why she doesn't want to give you children. I gaped at her, then at Ethan. That is not what I was saying. Ethan looked between us, his face unreadable. Liv, what are you doing here? I came to talk to your mother, I said, willing him to understand, to clear the air about the other day. Madeline sniffed. There's nothing to clear up. I simply expressed my concern about your lack of family planning. Mom, Ethan said, his voice tight, this isn't the time or place for this discussion. I felt a flicker of hope. Was he finally going to stand up for me? But then he turned to me, his expression hardening. Olivia, you shouldn't have come here. This is between us, not my mother. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Between us, Ethan. She's the one who keeps interfering. Don't blame your shortcomings on me, dear, Madeline interjected. If you were truly committed to this marriage, you'd be thinking about starting a family, not gallivanting off to confront your mother-in-law. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, looking exasperated. Can we please just drop this, Olivia? Let's go home. No, I said, my voice shaking. Not until we settle this. Ethan, I need you to tell your mother to back off. Tell her our family planning is none of her business. He hesitated, glancing between us. I could see the conflict in his eyes, and for a moment I thought he might actually do it. But then his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, frowning at the screen. I have to take this, he muttered, already turning away. Ethan, wait. I reached for him, but he was already out the door, giraffe phone to his ear. I stood there, feeling utterly betrayed and alone. Madeline's triumphant smirk made my blood boil. Well, she said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. I suppose that settles things, doesn't it? My son knows where his priorities lie. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to make her understand how much she was hurting me. But the fight had drained out of me. This isn't over, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. As I walked out, I heard Madeline's parting shot. Oh, I think it is, dear. I think it is. I got into my car, tears blurring my vision. Ethan was still on the phone, pacing in the driveway. He glanced up as I started the engine, a flicker of something. Guilt, regret, crossing his face. But it was too late. As I pulled away, I realized that the man I thought I'd married was gone. And in his place was a stranger who'd chosen his mother over his wife. The question now was, what was I going to do about it? I hadn't spoken to Ethan in days. The silence in our house was deafening, broken only by the click of my laptop keys as I threw myself into work. Anything to distract from the growing chasm between us. It was a sunny Saturday when I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I needed air, space to think. Without a word to Ethan, I grabbed my keys and headed out. I found myself at the park, watching families enjoy the warm weather. Children laughed, couples held hands, and for a moment, I let myself imagine what could have been. If only Ethan had stood up for me. If only Madeline wasn't so. A familiar laugh cut through my thoughts. I turned, and my heart stopped. There, not 20 feet away, was Ethan. But he wasn't alone. A beautiful woman sat beside him on a picnic blanket, a baby nestled in her arms. Ethan was making silly faces at the child, his eyes sparkling with joy. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. This couldn't be happening. As if in slow motion, Ethan leaned over and kissed the woman's cheek. She beamed at him, then handed him the baby. He cradled the child with such tenderness, such love. My legs gave out and I sank onto a nearby bench. How long had this been going on? Was this why he'd been so distant, so unwilling to confront his mother about our own family plans? I must have made a sound because suddenly Ethan looked up. Our eyes met across the grass, and I saw the moment recognition hit him. His face drained of color. He said something to the woman, handing her back the baby, then started walking towards me. I wanted to run, to hide, but I was rooted to the spot. Olivia, he said, his voice strained. I can't explain. I found my voice, though it sounded foreign to my ears. Explain what, Ethan? How you have a whole other family I knew nothing about. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit I once found endearing. Now it made me want to scream. It's not what you think. Haley, the baby, it's complicated. Complicated? I spat the word back at him. What's complicated about it? You're cheating on me. No, he looked panicked now. It's not like that. Haley and I, we have history. The baby, it happened before you and I got serious. The pieces started falling into place. The late-night phone calls, the evasiveness, Madeline's insistence on grandchildren. She knew, I whispered. Your mother, she knew about them. Ethan's silence was all the confirmation I needed. How long? I demanded. How long have you been lying to me? He couldn't meet my eyes. The baby's 6 months old. 6 months. We'd been married for 3. The math wasn't hard. So when you proposed, when we got married, you knew? He nodded, misery etched on his face. I wanted to tell you. I didn't know how. I stood up, my whole body shaking. You didn't know how? How about, Olivia, I have a child with another woman? Was that so hard? Please, he reached for me, but I jerked away. Let me explain. We can work this out. But I was done listening, done trying to understand. In that moment, everything became crystal clear. There's nothing to work out, Ethan, I said, my voice eerily calm. You made your choice. You chose to lie, to build our entire marriage on a foundation of deceit. Olivia, please. I held up a hand, silencing him. No, I'm done. We're done. As I walked away, leaving Ethan standing there with his mouth open, I felt a strange mix of pain and relief. The man I thought I knew was gone, replaced by this stranger with his secret family. But as I got in my car, a new emotion surfaced. Determination. Ethan and Madeline had played me for a fool. Now it was time to show them exactly who they were dealing with. The game had changed, and I was ready to play. I stormed into our house, slamming the door behind me. Ethan! I shouted, my voice echoing through the empty rooms. Where are you? He appeared at the top of the stairs, his face pale. Olivia, please let me explain. Explain? I laughed bitterly. Oh, you're going to explain all right, every single detail. We faced each other in the living room, the tension crackling between us like live wires. Ethan looked like a cornered animal, his eyes darting around as if searching for an escape. Start talking, I demanded. And don't you dare leave anything out. He sank onto the couch, running his hands through his hair. Haley and I, we dated years ago before I met you. It ended badly, and I thought that was it. But then, about 1.5 years ago, we ran into each other at a conference. My stomach churned as I did the math. 1.5 years ago, Ethan and I had been dating for 6 months. One thing led to another, he continued, his voice barely above a whisper. It was a mistake, Olivia. A stupid one-time mistake. A mistake that resulted in a baby, I spat. He flinched. I didn't know about the baby until after we were engaged. Haley reached out, told me she was pregnant. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. So you decided to lie? To marry me while hiding the fact that you were about to become a father? Ethan looked up at me, his eyes pleading. I love you, Olivia. I didn't want to lose you. I thought I could handle it. Support Haley and the baby financially, but keep it separate from our life together. The pieces were falling into place now. That's why you've been working so much. The late-night phone calls, the secrecy. He nodded miserably. I've been trying to juggle everything, my company, our marriage, supporting Haley and the baby. And your mother? I asked, my voice sharp. Where does she fit into all this? Ethan's face crumpled. She found out, threatened to tell you if I didn't, if we didn't start a family of our own. The betrayal cut deep. Not just Ethan, but Madeline, too. They'd both been manipulating me, playing me for a fool. So that's why she's been pushing so hard for grandchildren, I said, the realization dawning. She already has one. She just wants one that's socially acceptable. Olivia, please. Ethan stood, reaching for me. I know I messed up, but I love you. We can work through this. I'll do whatever it takes. I stepped back, out of his reach. Whatever it takes? Like what, Ethan? Are you going to abandon your child, cut Haley out of your life completely? The silence that followed was deafening. I saw the conflict in his eyes, and in that moment I knew. He couldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. That's what I thought, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. You can't have it both ways, Ethan. You can't keep your secret family and expect me to just accept it. What are you saying? He asked, fear creeping into his voice. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I was about to say. I'm saying it's over. I want a divorce. The word hung in the air between us, heavy and final. Ethan's face crumpled, a mix of grief and relief washing over him. Olivia, please. No, I cut him off. You made your choice, Ethan. You chose to lie, to build our entire marriage on a foundation of deceit. Now I'm making my choice. I pulled off my wedding ring, placing it on the coffee table with a soft clink. The sound seemed to echo in the silence of the room. I'll be staying with my parents until I can find a place of my own, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. I suggest you use this time to figure out what kind of father you want to be. Because that's who you are now, Ethan. A father. Just not to any children of mine. As I walked out of the house, my head held high. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Pain, certainly. Anger, without a doubt. But underneath it all, a growing sense of determination. Ethan and Madeline had underestimated me. They thought I would crumble, that I would accept their lies and manipulation. But they were wrong. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. And I was ready to fight for the life I deserved. I'd been staying at my parents' house for a week when Ethan finally reached out. His text was simple. We need to talk, please. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at his house. As I pulled into the driveway, my stomach churned with a mix of anger and anxiety. Ethan opened the door before I could knock, his face haggard and unshaven. "Olivia," he breathed, relief evident in his voice. "Thank you for coming." I brushed past him into the living room, determined to keep this brief. "What do you want, Ethan?" He fumbled with something on the coffee table, then turned to face me, holding out a manila envelope. I had these drawn up." My heart stopped as I realized what he was holding. Divorce papers. Pre-signed. "You're kidding me," I whispered, my voice shaking with rage. "After everything, you're just going to hand me divorce papers?" Ethan's face crumpled. I thought this was what you wanted. You said, "I know what I said," I snapped. "But I didn't think you'd just roll over and give up. Don't you even want to try to fix this?" He ran a hand through his hair, looking lost. "I don't know how, Olivia. I've made such a mess of everything, with you, with Haley, with the baby." "And your mother?" I added bitterly. Ethan's eyes flashed with something. Anger? Regret? "Mom's been difficult. She keeps pushing me to make things right with you, but also to step up for Haley and the baby. I can't win." I laughed humorlessly. "Oh, poor Ethan, caught between all the women in his life. Did you ever stop to think about how your actions affected us, how they destroyed me?" He reached for me, but I stepped back. "Liv, please, I never meant to hurt you. I love you." "Love me?" I spat the words back at him. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have lied. You wouldn't have hidden your child from me. You would have stood up to your mother instead of letting her bully me about having children when you already had one." Ethan's face paled. I know I messed up. But please, Olivia, give me another chance. We can work this out. We can, what, Ethan?" I interrupted. "Go back to the way things were? Pretend you don't have a child with another woman? That your mother didn't manipulate and lie to me for months?" He fell silent, the weight of my words hanging heavy between us. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I was about to say. "You know what? You're right. This is what I want." I snatched the envelope from his hands, my fingers trembling slightly. "If you're so eager to end our marriage, then let's do it." Ethan's eyes widened in panic. "Olivia, wait. I didn't mean..." But I was already heading for the door, divorce papers clutched tightly to my chest. As I reached for the handle, Ethan's next words stopped me cold. "I'll lose everything if you leave." I turned slowly, disbelief etched on my face. "What?" He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. "The company, it's not doing well. I've been using my own money to keep it afloat, to support Haley and the baby. If we divorce, if I have to split our assets, I'll lose it all." The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. This wasn't just about our marriage anymore. This was about Ethan's entire life crumbling around him. For a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy. But then I remembered all the lies, all the betrayal, and my resolve hardened. "You should have thought of that before you decided to lie to me," I said, my voice cold. "Before you let your mother manipulate me. Before you fathered a child with another woman." I opened the door, pausing for one last look at the man I thought I knew. "Goodbye, Ethan. I hope it was worth it." As I walked away, envelope in hand, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Pain, certainly. Anger, without a doubt, but underneath it all, a growing sense of freedom. Ethan had made his choices. Now it was time for me to make mine. I'd barely slept in the week since I'd left Ethan's house with those divorce papers. My parents' guest room felt like a prison. the walls closing in with each passing day. I was drowning in a sea of betrayal and uncertainty. The shrill ring of my phone cut through my brooding. Ethan's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated, then answered. "Olivia, please." His voice was ragged, desperate. "I need to see you. We need to talk." "We've said everything there is to say, Ethan," I replied, my voice cold. "No, you don't understand. Everything's falling apart. The company, I'm about to lose it all. Please just meet me. One last time." Against my better judgment, I agreed. An hour later, I found myself at our old favorite coffee shop, watching Ethan fidget nervously across the table. "Talk," I said, my tone leaving no room for small talk. Ethan took a deep breath. "The company's in trouble. Big trouble. I've been using my personal funds to keep it afloat, to support Haley and the baby. But now, with the divorce, I'm going to lose everything." I felt a flicker of sympathy, quickly extinguished by anger. "And that's my problem because I still love you, Olivia," he pleaded. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But if we could just try, if you could find it in your heart to forgive me, your heart to forgive me." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from my father. "Call me ASAP. Important news about Ethan's business." Excusing myself, I stepped outside to call Dad. "Olivia," he said, his voice grave. "I've been doing some digging. Ethan's company, it's worse than he's letting on. There are rumors of fraud, of cooked books. If this gets out, he's not just losing the company. He could face jail time." My world tilted on its axis. Fraud? Jail? This was so much bigger than I'd imagined. Returning to the table, I looked at Ethan with new eyes. Was he truly desperate to save our marriage, or was he just trying to save himself? "Tell me the truth, Ethan," I demanded. "All of it, about the company, about Haley, about everything." He crumbled before my eyes, confessing to financial mismanagement, to using company funds for personal expenses, including supporting Haley and the baby. He'd been robbing Peter to pay Paul, and now it was all catching up to him. "I thought I could fix it," he said, his voice breaking. "I thought if I could just hold on a little longer, make a big deal, everything would be okay. But now you want me to save you," I finished for him. He looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. "If we stay together, if we present a united front, maybe we can weather this storm. Please, Olivia, I know I don't deserve it, but I'm begging you, help me." I sat there, stunned by the magnitude of what he was asking. Stay with him? After all the lies, the betrayal? Risk my own future to save him from his mistakes? But then I thought about Haley, about the innocent baby caught in the middle of all this, about the employees at Ethan's company who would lose their jobs if it all came crashing down. "I need time to think," I said finally, standing up. "This isn't just about us anymore." As I walked out of the coffee shop, my mind was reeling. The man I had loved, the man I had built my life with, was now a stranger to me. A liar, a cheat, possibly even a criminal. But he was also the father of an innocent child, the employer of dozens of people who depended on him. I found myself at a crossroads, facing the biggest decision of my life. Do I walk away, protect myself from further hurt and betrayal? Or do I stay, try to salvage what's left of our life together, potentially at great cost to myself? As I drove back to my parents' house, one thought kept echoing in my mind. Whatever I decided, there was no going back. The life I had known was gone forever. The only question now was, what kind of life did I want to build from the ashes? I sat in my lawyer's office, divorce papers spread before me. My hand hovered over the signature line, pen poised. This was it, the moment that would officially end my marriage to Ethan. "Are you sure about this, Olivia?" my lawyer asked gently. "Once you sign, there's no going back." Was I sure? The past few weeks had been a whirlwind of emotions and revelations. Ethan's desperate pleas, the truth about his company's financial troubles, the innocent child caught in the middle of our mess. It all swirled in my mind, a chaotic storm of conflicting feelings. But then I remembered. I remembered the lies, the betrayal, the way Ethan had chosen his mother and his secret family over me time and time again. I remembered the look on his face when he handed me those pre-signed divorce papers, so ready to throw away our marriage. My jaw set with determination. "I'm sure," I said, and signed my name with a flourish. As I walked out of the office, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. It was done. I was free. My phone buzzed. A new email. I opened it, expecting another plea from Ethan. Instead, I found myself staring at a job offer. A major publishing house wanted me to write a series of articles on women's empowerment and resilience in the face of adversity. I laughed out loud, startling a passerby. It was perfect. Everything I'd been through, all the pain and betrayal, had led me to this moment. I had a story to tell, and now I had the platform to tell it. As I drove home, to my new apartment, not my parents' house, I found myself thinking about Ethan, about Haley, and their baby. I hoped they'd find a way to make it work, for the child's sake if nothing else. But it wasn't my problem anymore. I walked into my apartment, still bare and echoing with newness. On the kitchen counter sat a vase of flowers with a card. From Dad, proud of you, kiddo, here's to new beginnings. Tears pricked my eyes, but for the first time in months, they were tears of joy, not sorrow. My phone rang. It was Madeline. I hesitated, then answered. Olivia, she said, her voice uncharacteristically subdued. I owe you an apology. I sat down, stunned. You do? I was wrong, she continued. About everything, the way I treated you, the pressure I put on you and Ethan. I thought I was doing what was best for my son, but I see now how much damage I caused. I listened in silence as Madeline poured out her regrets, her fears for Ethan's future, her hopes that someday I might find it in my heart to forgive her. When she finished, I took a deep breath. Thank you for calling, Madeline, I said. I appreciate your apology. I can't say I forgive you, not yet. But I hope you'll use this experience to be a better grandmother to Ethan and Haley's child than you were a mother-in-law to me. After we hung up, I sat in silence, processing everything. Then, with a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in months, I opened my laptop and began to write. In the end, it's not about the betrayals we suffer or the lies we uncover. It's about how we rise from the ashes, how we rebuild ourselves from the ground up. This is my story, a story of heartbreak and renewal, of shattered dreams and new beginnings. The words flowed freely, my fingers flying over the keys. As the sun set outside my window, casting a warm glow over my new home, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. I had lost a husband, but I had found myself. I had weathered the storm and come out stronger on the other side. And now I had a whole new life ahead of me, full of possibilities and promise. This wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning.